Hi, thanks for coming on. Andy with you here on Thursday, August the 19th, with the ratings for the Scottish football this coming weekend. And just to say, I'll be back later this evening with the ratings for the National League, and we'll do the English leagues tomorrow. And then we'll be back Sunday with a review. Excuse me. Right, Scottish then. I think there's value, but it's thin on the ground in relation to ratings this weekend. Celtic, St Mirren, 71%. You don't need me to tell you that Celtic are going to win this game. And there's a bet I will tell you about at the end, which I know has been asked for a fair few times over the last couple of days. Just meant to say that. 71% Celtic, 16 draw, 13 St Mirren. There's a bit in St Mirren, but at 13%, it wouldn't interest me at all. 35% Livingston, 26% draw, 39% Motherwell. I think there's plenty in Motherwell. I really do. We're being paid at over a point better than what we should be. I don't think Livingston are great at all. But Motherwell, I think if they can put in a similar performance, they did against Hibernian the other week, then they're certainly capable of winning this game. And as I say, you're getting paid 2.7 to 1, about a 6 to 4 shot. And on figures, they are the most likeliest winners. So it's up to you. Dundee Hibs, 27 Dundee, 28 draw, 45 Hibs. Most likeliest winners Hibs, but they're putting odds on. Doesn't interest me. With the rating, there's a bit in Dundee, but again, this 0.25 compared to that figure doesn't offer any real value. Hearts Aberdeen, 37, 24, 39. Slight favourites, Aberdeen with me. Bookmakers see it completely the other way. They've got Hearts in at 5 to 4. I think that's far too short. I'm not saying Aberdeen's a good thing, but there's almost a point extra in Aberdeen. But they are the highest rated. But again, you've got to weigh this up. 37 and 39. There's only 2% between the pair of them. Ross Rangers, 11, 17, 72. There's plenty in Ross. There's a bit in the draw, but again, you're taking on something which is going to win 72% or more of the time. It doesn't interest me backing Ross. I think they're a poor side. Rangers lost, didn't they, the other weekend at Dundee United. I can't for the life of me see them not winning on Saturday or Sunday, whenever this game is. I really can only see one result here. He'll have them revved up for this. And as I told you at the start of the season, Ross are a poor side and one that I expect to be relegated. St Johnstone, Dundee United. This, I mean, the bookmakers are really tight on this because I've got St Johnstone at 6 to 4, the draw 5 to 2, 21 to 10 Dundee United. But we can't, there's no value anywhere. St Johnstone at evens is a horrific price. You know, that is far, I'm not saying to lay them because they are the most likeliest winners, but even money for a 6 to 4 shot is well, no value at all, is there? But there's nothing in Dundee United, and the draw, again, it wouldn't interest me. So moving on, Championship. This game's Friday night tomorrow. Wraith Dunfermline. I've got Wraith as favourites. I think they should be a shade of odds on with a rating of 52. It's debatable whether I'd want to back them because I do know Dunfermline are better than what they've shown. They sort of strike me as the same situation that we've spoken about before with Alloa in League One. There's better to come, and it's going to take time, but I have to base this match on where we are at the moment, and where we are at the moment, I think if Wraith were good enough to put 4 past Hamilton, and yes, I know they ship 4, I can see them scoring a couple tomorrow night. They should be 10 to 11, they're evens. There's 0.09 in it. It's nothing world beating. If you wanted to back it, I wouldn't put you off. Arbroath Partick, 25, 27, 48. There's nothing in Arbroath at all, and Partick, bookmakers see Partick the same as me. The draw, there's a bit in the draw, but again, it's something which I wouldn't have an interest in backing. Hamilton Kilmarnock, Hamilton 34, 26 draw, 40 Kilmarnock. Now, I mean, I think there's been a slight overreaction to Kilmarnock. Yes, they've started the season well, but I don't think they should be odds on away for a trip to Hamilton. Not at all. I think, again, they're rated to win this match, but they are in no way, shape or form an odds on bet. Hamilton, again, they're a team that I know is going to improve. They are improving. They will get better. And I just couldn't begin to think about backing Kilmarnock. Again, there's almost a point in Hamilton. It's how you see it. Inverness against Ayr. Inverness 58-24, draw 18, Ayr. I think Inverness has started the season well, but I think we got... I wouldn't be interested in backing a team with 0.03, even with a high rating like that, because Inverness are one of those teams that they're never a good thing in my book. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They're not a team to trust. They're not as bad as Morton and Queen of the South, but they're along those lines. But if you wanted a bet in this game, under 2.5 goals, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think, we're looking at a 1-0 or maybe Inverness to win to 0 or under 2.5 goals would be the way to go here if you're thinking of a bet. I couldn't back Inverness. I just don't trust them enough, but there is a bit of value in them, but it's 0.03. Morton, Queen of the South, the two, I'm not going to say the worst teams because I've got nothing against them, but the two worst teams as far as I'm concerned for punting purposes, and two which I've never been able to get right. And 39, 27, 34 does sort of reflect that. I couldn't back Morton, at 1.3, and I couldn't back Queen of the South, although Queen of the South are the right price. And, if you could get 2-1 on Queen of the South, then I certainly wouldn't discourage you, but it's a game which, for me, it's just one which I totally shy away from. And I said many times for many years, even back in the paper in the day, Morton and Queen of the South are so hard to call. Right, let's have a look at League One. Alloa Queen's Park. Really tight game this. 36, 27, 37. Queen's Park, the likeliest winners by 1% in this game, but there's nothing in them. There's 0.25 in Alloa. And this is a game that I think, if this was being played a month, 6 weeks down the line, we probably wouldn't be getting 2-1 about Alloa. But if this was being played sort of mid-October, I'd want to be backing Alloa at 2-1 for 7-4 if we could get it. But it's a tough game. It's a real tough game to call because I know that Alloa will come good. But at the moment, I'd say that Queen's Park have probably looked the best side in League One at the moment. It doesn't mean to say they're going to win it, but I just think that they're probably the best side in League One currently. Dumbarton Cove, 20-27-53. They put in a good performance the other week, Dumbarton, but I think Cove ought to be up to winning this. And it's whether you want to take even money for Cove. I think it's probably fair enough. There's 0.17 in it. They're rated 53. And if I just go back to the bet I mentioned, not the bet, the Inverness, although that's a higher rated, there's only 0.03 in it, and there's 0.17. I would probably trust Cove more away at Dumbarton than I would Inverness at home to Ayr, and that's just the way I see these teams. East Fife Montrose 36, 26, 38. Again, this is a really tough game to call, and I did say value's thin on the ground, and it really is. And I mean, we can make a real strong case for East Fife. They've lost 3 games in 2 seasons at Bayview, but they've not beaten Montrose here. I think their last 3 results at Bayview against Montrose has been 2 losses and a draw. It's a bit of a sort of derby type game. It really is a tough one to call. That's why I found not value but 0.25 in the draw, because those two are so tight, similar to Aller and Queen's Park. And again, it's sort of come 10-5 on Saturday. Neither result would surprise me. But as I say, they're a tough nut to crack at Bayview East Fife. They really, really are. But Montrose seem to have a habit of doing it. Falkirk, Clyde, 60% Falkirk, 24-16. They're 8-15. It doesn't interest me at all. And this seemed to be a bit of a pattern this weekend, that anything that, when I looked at these games last Sunday, they look really favourable games, and I sort of had an idea of what teams I wanted to back. And Falkirk, Cove, they were two of the teams that I sort of were going to be interested in backing. But I was hoping that we could sort of get maybe 4-5 about Falkirk or something, but 8-15, that was wishful thinking on my part, but 8-15 doesn't interest me. But there is a bet that I'll come to in a minute that does involve Falkirk, that has been, I'm not going to say massively punted, but has been asked about probably about half a dozen times. I do know, and Falkirk are part of it. 24% draw, 16 Clyde. Clyde won for us last week. Couldn't touch them at Falkirk, I have to say, and the draw again doesn't interest me. Peterhead Alloa 31-29, 40. Second week running, I think that bookmakers have been short about Peterhead. I think based on that one result early on in the season, beating Alloa, I think that bookies are still in a bit of a hangover from that. Airdrie 40%, they're 6-4. There's 0.2 in it. Bit of feedback on Airdrie again. They're another side that aren't getting the rub of the green. And they'll turn a corner sooner or later, and they're rated to win this game, and there is a bit in it. It's just a question of where you see it really. But I do think that, I mean, I'm not going to say stop the rot, but I do think fairly soon we're going to see Airdrie turning in a few decent performances, and they have created chances. I'm not going to say they've been unlucky, but they just haven't finished them. And as I think, the weeks go on, they will turn the corner, and it could start this Saturday and at Peterhead. So, again, there's some in it. Let's move on to League Two. Very disappointed, I have to say, with League Two this week. I was expecting a bigger price. Well, we'll come to that in a minute anyway. But Albion Annan 24, 27, 49. Annan I put in at even 6-4. I think there's enough in that. I think that's decent. I think Albion, again, I can't remember who they played last week. I think, was it Elgin away, and we backed Elgin quite big, I think. But Albion, I think they're still being priced up for the fact that they beat Edinburgh on week 1. But I think over the weeks we've seen Edinburgh aren't that great, because they've been dealt with by Forfar, and I watched the game last Friday, and they struggled to beat Stenhousemuir. So I mean, I think this price of the bookmaker is massively short. And Annan, 2 good performances. They lost, didn't they, to Forfar, and they've won the other 2, and they won away at Stranraer, and they really do look to be picking up a bit of form, Annan. And to beat Stirling last week, I thought was a really, really good performance. And I think even money for Annan, they should be about evens, 11-10. So to find them chalked up at 6-4, I think there's plenty in that. Team news dependent. Elgin Forfar 36-25-39. I didn't expect to have this game this close, but I had been saying for a few weeks that Elgin are better than what we've seen. And I know we backed them last week. And when I sort of first looked at this game, and I was expecting Forfar to be round about the sort of 44-45%. So I wasn't surprised that Elgin came out at 36, but I was expecting Forfar to come out a bit higher. And I was hoping to sort of price them round about sort of 5-4, and there's 0.10 in it, and it's a hard one to call. My gut feeling on this is a draw, because they are a tough nut to crack at Borough Briggs, Elgin. And again, I think Forfar and Kelty are the 2 teams in League One, so it wouldn't surprise me if Forfar won this. It wouldn't surprise me if Elgin won it or it was a draw. But I do sort of get that feeling that it is sort of a draw material. But as I say, they're a tough nut to crack at home. Kelty Edinburgh 64-25-11. Again, I can only see one winner here, and I will come to something now. There's been some decent money. I mean, there's been one of the chaps I speak to, I know, as I said to you, he's had 2 bets so far this season. He's backed Kelty for the outright, and he had a huge bet on Kelty the other week when they played. I can't remember who they played. They were at home to somebody, and they won. He had a really good bet on Kelty then. I think it might have been Cowdenbeath, and he's gone in again this weekend on Kelty. That's only his 3rd bet. All his bets have been on Kelty, and I know that there's been about half a dozen people place trebles on Kelty, Falkirk, and Celtic. That's not come from me, but there's been some decent trebles, decent money trebles placed on Kelty, Falkirk, and Celtic. Now, I've got Kelty in at 64, I've got Falkirk in at 60, and I have got Celtic in at 71. So I've got them rated in very, very highly. And as I say, there's been good money for the treble. I can only see one winner in this game. You know, I thought Forfar dealt with Edinburgh well the other week. I think Kelty will too. There's a bit in the draw. Wouldn't be interested in Edinburgh no matter what the price was at 11%. And sadly, there's nothing in Kelty. I think they'll probably win to nil. Just in saying that, because they were, I mean, they scored against Stenhousemuir to win 1-0 last week, but they seem to be a bit toothless up front this season. Stenhousemuir, Cowdenbeath 38-31, 31. It was Stenhousemuir, a team I was interested in backing. Again, when I looked at these games last Sunday, I thought they'd be having a sort of early 40s rating, and I was hoping the bookmakers would put them in round about sort of 7-4, 13-8. I was hoping we were going to sort of get a bit in Stenhousemuir, but sadly, no. And there's not a massive difference between them, the draw, and Cowdenbeath, who are both priced up the same. There's a bit in the draw, like there seems to be every game this week, but I do see Stenhousemuir winning this game. But 11-8 just doesn't interest me about a 38% team. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Stranraer, Stirling, 32-25-43. Stirling, I'm not going to say I'm prepared to overlook, but the performance last week was atrocious against Annan. Now, they lost the previous week at home to Kelty. I think we backed them week 1, didn't we? Now, I'm prepared to overlook it, but the figure has dropped. Had I priced this up before the Annan game, this would have been 48%. So if you just take that Annan game in isolation, you can see that Stirling should have been round about 11-10. So, you know, if you're getting 13-8 for 11-10 shots, you're doing well. But because there's half a point in that. But as I say, I've had to drop them based on that performance last week. So Stranraer, the rot's got to end sometime. They are so much better than their league position suggests and how they've played on the pitch. I know they are. And again, it's bookmakers are being cautious. They should be 2-1. But bookmakers 6-4, they're not giving anything away. And to have them in favourites over Stirling, I think it's a bit of an insult to Stirling, for sure. Because I would have Stirling favourites every day, but they know that there's going to be a response from Stranraer, the bookmakers do, and I'm expecting one myself. So that's it. Sorry, the value, there isn't a lot about. There really isn't. It's going to be a tough week on the members' bets. I think we're looking at 4 bets at the very most. And again, I think 2 of those are team use dependent. So we could only end up having 2 bets this weekend. It really is one of those weekends that I just hope, I'm not going to say the bookies have caught up with us, because I think things will probably be not back to normal, but be different next week. But I just think that I just look at some of these games that, you know, they're underrating some teams, and, you know, they know Stranraer's going to come good. I think they've got Kelty's number now. and it's just one of those weekends. But I'll be back Sunday with a review of these Scottish football bets, and as I say, we will do the non-league bets also later today. And as I say, don't forget that treble that's been backed. I know that's been backed by a couple of people I would say I respect their judgment. That's Kelty, Falkirk, and Celtic in a treble, and that's for good money. So that's it. Be back later.